Hi, this is Amy
and Melissa. We are a couple of retired Texas teachers who are CALTs, Certified Academic Language Therapists. We started our own businesses, and now we have a podcast called The Dyslexia Duo.
So join us for our informative podcast, where we'll delve into dyslexia, covering the topics that affect parents, therapists, teachers, practitioners, and anyone who wants to learn more. We'll guide you through everything you need to know, from the first signs to the intricacies of dyslexia curriculum placement and beyond.
This season, we will cover the referral process, what to expect when your child or student is dyslexic, the generational impacts of dyslexia, and how to support those affected.
Come join us! Let's resume our conversation with the insights of Dr. Marcia Henry. So we've had like Jan Hasbrook on here, and we've had some other big names in addition to yourself on the podcast that are on the IDA side, structured literacy. And so we understand now, maybe we didn't have the understanding when we first started, but we understand now that structured literacy is kind of the big umbrella for all other literacy programs. But how is it different from reading instruction, especially different from balanced literacy? What are some key distinctions?
Well, I think, first of all, it's very explicit. Mm-hmm. When you think about other programs, whether we call them whole language or balanced literacy or whatever, the phonics in it is very hit or miss. Whereas in a structured literacy kind of program, there are many components. There's the phonetic component, there's the morpheme component, there's the vocabulary component, there's the comprehension component. And to me, that's why morphology is so important.
Yes.
Because it affects your vocabulary skills, your comprehension skills, your decoding skills, your spelling skills. And it's based, most of the affixes that we teach, like miss, dis, nt, the ENT, ANT, etc., are phonetic in nature. So it makes sense to me to first have the phonics, or at least a smattering. You don't have to go through the whole sequence before you start adding affixes.
Yeah.
But I like to think of reading and spelling taught simultaneously. Spell to print and print to spell. So that when I'm teaching, let's say, the suffix less, I teach that this is that schwa sound, so we have to deal with some of the technology or techniques within the word itself. But we would talk about the double S after the E, less, and then I would give them lots of words to read, timeless, hopeless, and so on, and then to spell. And spelling has to be actual spelling.
Yeah.
So many of the spelling tests that we give children are not really spelling, they're reading tests, because we're saying which of the four is spelled correctly. Well, I have to read those in order to know which one might be spelled correctly.
Yeah.
So the multiple choice spelling tests don't mean a thing, but the actual spelling of the words. And that's, I think, one of your questions had to do with what do we bring to teachers about the children. And one thing I would say, especially for kids maybe second grade and higher, is the best spelling test would be a writing sample of some kind. Mm-hmm. And analyze that writing sample. I have a packet about this thick probably an inch thick, of children's writing. And Louisa Moats, in her newest third edition of From Speech to Print, has some wonderful examples of writing samples. And a teacher who knows how to analyze that spelling can do all sorts of remediation based on the kind of spelling errors that the child is making to make it more like a one-to-one tutorial situation. So you wouldn't necessarily have the same words for each child, but maybe you have a bunch of kids who don't know the OU is usually the ow, as in ouch and pound and so on. And so give lots of words for them to read and to spell, lots of opportunity. Getting back to the question of structured literacy, it needs to be explicit, somewhat sequential, diagnostic in nature. That would mean that I can use the words they can't read and the words they can't spell in a diagnostic, prescriptive way. And this is very different than much of the work coming out of balanced literacy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they call whole language now, but
Balanced literacy.
yeah. The perspectives this year, IDA had its 75th anniversary.
Yeah.
And Perspective put out a wonderful book called Structured Literacy, Grounded in the Science of Reading. And it has lots of, I just wanted to mention a few of the authors. The Why of Structured Literacy by Reed Lyon, who was the NICHD's chief of psychology. And he is the one who got funding for all of this fabulous reading research starting about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And he and a colleague, Margaret Goldberg, have one of the areas. Barbara Wilson, Linnea Airy, Steve Graham, Kate Kane, Jessica Hammond. The how of structured literacy is just as important as the what. And that's by Louise Spears Swirling, who's done some wonderful work on writing up about structured literacy. Tim Odegaard, and then English learners, structured literacy for English learners, Elsa Cardenas Hagen. So those are the authors of the various pieces in this. And anybody interested in structured literacy, this is available from IDA.
Yeah.
And I would really recommend that.
Did you get to attend the 75th anniversary?
I did, yes. I hadn't been at all during COVID.
Yeah.
And the last one I attended was 2019 in Portland. And then, of course, the next 2 or 3 years, they didn't have them. And then they started doing it online.
Yeah.
And now they have both an online format and an in-person format. And it was great. But, you know, there are so few of us left that I was asked to do a session on the history of IDA, and I called it, in fact, I gave this once to the CALT group in either Dallas or Houston.
Yeah.
And I call it When Anna Met Sam.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Did you, was it at an Alta? Did you do it when at the Alta conferences?
Alta, it was. And were you there?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a wonderful woman who was an actress.
Yes, I remember this. And we all got pearls. Yeah.
And she acted as Anna. And she comes roaring into the arena, not arena, but into the room where we were speaking, and people just gasped because They thought, who is this loony woman? And she said, I am Anna Gillingham.
I remember.
Diana King did
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh.
impersonation of Diana, of Anna.
That's so funny.
Gosh, it sounds like you've known all the people. All the people.
Well, I've known a lot of them, and it's been, my great pleasure, and I'm still meeting new ones.
Well, we hope carry the torch, but we've got a lot to do to get up to your level.
Oh yeah.
So I've got another question for you about morphology. So I've noticed when I work with my students, I might teach them the lesson on the prefixes, the suffixes. We do all the practice with it. And then when we read a book, they don't recognize that a word that they stumble on has the prefix or the suffix. And how can I help them kind of see that a little more easily? Is that just more practice? Is there any other tip?
A couple of the books that I've written, like Words or Patterns for Success, have lots of activities. And one of the things I do is make up my own short paragraphs and that would make sense. And it might be, let's say, about music, the topic. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to talk about a conductor who stands at the lectern. And, getting them to know that there are a lot of words here, especially the longer words, where they might recognize the prefix and the suffix in conductor, but the duct, they don't really think of what that might mean. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of people don't like the idea of drill cards.
Yeah.
Ken Apple definitely doesn't like the idea of drill cards, and yet I find them very useful after we've presented a group of roots. Mm-hmm. I'll call them bases or roots, but looking at the Latin roots, I might have a deck of cards, maybe 10 or 12,
right?
Not the whole pack, but I would flip through port, rupt, struct, spect, etc. Mm-hmm. The ones we've already talked about. So they have an automaticity is what leads to fluency.
Right.
And so once they see these and have just that quick understanding, spect, struct, duct, and so on, they're going to see those jump out at them.
When they read it in books. Okay.
So I would either try to pick the stories for those older kids. Social studies is great for the Latin word roots. And in my Unlocking Literacy, I think that the 2003 version that you have, Amy, came out. That was 2003, and I did a second edition.
Oh.
It's 2010.
Oh.
But it has, in the back, it has lots of words found in social studies, for instance, weather and geography, government and citizens, argumentative, bicentennial, caricature, centennial, democracy, dictatorship, electoral, emigrate, emigration, immigrant, immigration. Very topical these days.
Yeah, right. It is.
Right.
Presidential, re-elect, senator, sequential, all of those under government and citizen, and a lot more. So social studies gives you lots of words that are of the Latin base roots. And so I think it's very meaningful to teach some of those. And then in terms of science and math, concentrate on the Greek word part. Neo, micro, ortho, meter, meta, mania, phobia, macro, lex, litho, and so on. So there are just so many with lots of words fitting each of those. And if kids are aware that those are common Greek, usually called combining forms, or you can use the term roots just to be consistent
Right.
in what you call them. But I think that is very useful to kids. So I would try that.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Melissa with Kids First Dyslexia Services. I am excited to share with you my private practice. Kids First Dyslexia Services is a private practice that specializes in dyslexia therapy. Each one-on-one session focuses on instruction specific to your child's needs in a nurturing environment that develops self-esteem, builds confidence, and fosters a sense of accomplishment, resulting in happier kids with higher levels of achievement. We provide a professional, personalized experience, always putting the child first. We value the relationships with both our students and parents because strengthening skills and overcoming hurdles to achieve desired goals and success is a team effort. For more information, please visit www.kidsfirstdyslexia.com. That is www.kidsfirstdyslexia.com.
Hi, this is Amy Rodenroth, and as part of the Dyslexia Duo podcast team and owner of Discovery Dyslexia Services, I want to talk to you about my business. Our COUT-trained team offers expert virtual or in-person therapy located in Prosper, Texas, using proven dyslexia curricula like Take Flight, Build, MTA, Alphabetic Phonics, and Reading by Design. We also provide crucial independent evaluations and advocacy services. Don't wait. Empower your child today. Visit www.discovereed.com to learn more. That again is www.discoveread.com. Discovereed, covering all your dyslexia needs. Let's return to the show.
So you think that as far as a classroom teacher is even concerned too, they could incorporate this into their daily lesson structure. So that would really help them with their comprehension too, right? So what kind of work could they do that would increase a child's comprehension? What do you recommend for them?
Well, first, if they know the vocabulary of social studies, let's say, or this of science, to understand those. And then for comprehension, lots of the kinds of activities that Nancy Hennessy, for instance, would provide. She has a wonderful book, fairly new, from Brooks Publishing, and she has lots of ideas for comprehension. But the main thing about comprehension is, I've always felt, we have to give kids some background knowledge. They have to have some idea. You can't just hand them a book and say, read chapter 12, if they don't have that type of background knowledge for whatever topic it is, whatever subject it goes under. So that would be one thing, to be sure they have the background knowledge that they need. Then try to provide some questions that are yes and no questions, that where they have to infer something from what they've read. And this is where a teacher can be very helpful in kind of supporting what it is they're reading and giving them ideas for what can I infer from that? What can I take from that? What does that mean? And then they have to really think through it. And I was interested so much in and I've heard Mary Ann many, many times and always love hearing her. And I was so happy that she brought out in her podcast with you both that the importance of critical thinking, getting kids to go beyond that literal meaning And that would be especially true for those in high school and college.
And morphology really does help a lot with that.
Yes, no doubt.
So we have a few questions yet left, but we're going to kind of jump ahead in our list because I know we're limited on time. A big hot question when I wrote this was, do you have any interest in the recent research findings in the fields of reading science that you find impactful or promising that's out right now? Is there any research that you're very interested in?
Well, I just wish there were more dealing with morphology.
Yeah.
I think the more we can hear from the neuropsychologists like Marianne, but her books, I think the one I like the best is Reader Come Home.
Yeah.
Because it's right on the mark. You know, it gets into the technology, and I don't know what the role of technology is actually going to end up being. I think we need a lot more information on that.
Yeah.
So that would be one of the areas I'd like to see more research in. I don't understand AI. My husband says, and he's a physicist, and he says, it's all people. It's, anything that AI does is
based on humans.
People do. And he said, don't get worked up about AI. And yet I know that, everything is AI today.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to reading instruction? That might be a topic for lots of people to look at.
I had seen something on social media about, it was a college professor in New York, and I guess Chat GPT was down. And he said the majority of his students asked for an extension on their paper because they couldn't do the work without Chat GPT. I mean, come on. We used the libraries when I was growing up to research our stuff. I almost feel like it's taken away critical thinking of our students growing up.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it is scary in that way. And I also think about how technology could help current classroom teachers. There's a lot of things out there that are very beneficial for current classroom teachers. And I wondered if you knew, and it might not be technology related so much, but if, we talked about background information a little bit before. If you knew of some great things that teachers could do to gather data to see what background knowledge the child has so that they could tailor their instruction to meet the child's needs where they are and give them good, solid instruction going forward.
You know what I've always done when we're thinking more about comprehension is I've worked a lot with textbooks. And when I was at Stanford, we did a project for one of the big publishers, and we were analyzing a number of different textbooks. And one of the things I learned that one of the best ways to check on what children might already know about the topic is go through the questions at the end of the chapter and get the kids to do that too, and your students. And let them see, do I know the answer to any of these questions? If not, they're going to have a hard time understanding it. So that's just one of the things that I think we can do. I use Wikipedia all the time. I have lots of interests, and I used to do a lot of figure skating up until I was about 15. And I still love watching all the different world championships and U.S. nationals and so on. And I love reading about it. And I think it's very important. A lot of what your reading in class is textbooks I couldn't care less about, or the child might not care less about.
Mhm.
But if they can read something that they really are interested in, they're going to take to reading
Yeah.
much more readily. And so, again, use some of the child's strengths and some of their interests in what you assign. And this is easier if you're an English teacher than if you're a social studies
Yeah.
teacher. But, you might find a way around it.
That's wonderful. I think that it's really great that people have wisdom from educators like you, that they can read your books, gather that information, and create lesson plans that will help the next generation come up and learn the best that they can. So I appreciate your knowledge. It's wonderful.
In addition to your books that you kind of touched on a little bit, and you talked about the website, Reading Rockets, and I can see on your table back there that you have Sue Hegland's book. Is that a book you would recommend? We had her on our podcast also.
Yes, I think this is a lovely book, Beneath the Surface of Words. And this came out, I think, a couple years ago. And it is a lot of what she talks about is based on the work of Pete Bowers and Michel. Well, he changed his name and now he has passed away. But he is the man who has been a strong influence on Pete with word matrices. It's fun for the children.
Was it William Van Cleve?
No,
Oh,
not William. William did a lot in both grammar and comprehension. But let me see if I can't find it.
It's amazing. She just talks about all these people that are famous educators, researchers, just like they're her best friends, right? I mean, she just knows them. She just knows them.
Melvin Ramsden.
okay.
Melvin Ramsden. And he is the one who developed these matrices with friend in the middle and then unfriend and befriend with prefix at the beginning and then the various suffixes at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, and other books that I think are nice, Gail Venable, Back Pocket Words, sharing the essence of English spelling. And she is a real Pete Bowers trained person. And she worked with Pete at a school in the Bay Area. And she has a lovely book that somewhat works in tandem with Sue Hegland's book.
Yeah.
And then Louisa Moats, of course, Speech to Print. She has a new third edition. Deb Glauser and I are going to be doing a podcast for this other one I mentioned. And Deb's book is called Morpheme Magic. And it's all sorts of lesson plans
Neat.
for different roots. So here's spec, spic, and lots of words. Specialists, prospect, introspect, respect, spectator, suspicion, species, inspect, spectacular, etc. And she has prefixes as well as suffixes. So this is a nice workbook for both teachers and children.
Okay.
And then the ones that I was mentioning that are mine, one is called Words. And this is, again, a lesson plans. And it's now online with activity sheets that can be printed online. And then the Patterns for Success is another one that I've done with Nancy Redding.
Oh, yeah.
A good colleague of mine. And again, this has lots of activities and takes it through the elementary grades, the kind of junior high, kind of 5th through 7, I'll say,
Yeah.
and the high school.
That's great resources because, like you've been saying, morphology is kind of coming now to the top, and people are realizing its importance with everything that they do. And so I love those resources. I love the resources that you wrote. I'm very interested in getting those and start to incorporate that with my students that I see.
Thank you. The words book and the patterns for success are from ProEd.
Okay.
And then the Unlocking Literacy, which is more like a text, this one is with Brooks Publishing.
This is awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, we have one more question for you.
Okay, so the question I have for you is if you had one wish that you could grant for our students, what would it be and why?
My one wish for all students is that reading was the very first priority in school.
Yeah.
And the reason is, I've said this, every academic subject depends on good reading, deep reading, as Marianne would say. And that's got to become the first priority. No excuses.
Wow.
I agree. I love it. Thank you.
That's great. Well, we have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you for giving up part of your Sunday and doing this with us. And we haven't been out quite a year, but we're getting close to doing a year of podcasts.
Yes.
And we've put out a podcast every week since mid-June, of last year. So we're so grateful.
It's so important that you're getting this information. And I don't like to be on camera, but I decided, well, if you're willing, I'm willing.
I'm kind of the same way. I don't want to be on camera, but okay, here we go.
You're beautiful, and you've got a lovely smile, and you just radiate joy, and you are just so well spoken. And I just hope to be like you when I grow up someday.
I hope so too.
I have to get a lot more education first, but that's okay. It's never too late, is it?
No, you were talking about, I think yours was your advanced coursework, but I didn't get my master's until I was 50, so it's never too late. I didn't have to take the GRE though. So I got lucky on that one.
Yeah, I don't want to take the GRE. That's scary.
Well, we thank you so much for your time. So this is Amy.
And Melissa.
And we're the
Dyslexia Duo.
We'll see you next time. Bye, y'all. The Dyslexia Duo podcast hosts are Amy Rodenroth,
Melissa Dean.
Our producer is Greg Rodenroth.
You can find us on Facebook at The Dyslexia Duo.
Email us any questions or comments at thedyslexiaduo@gmail.com.
Awareness is so important. Share this podcast with your friends,
family,
and teachers.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.